take a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
A motion by Jim and a second by Craig to approve the agenda. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. First on the agenda is public comment. We do have Tom Guzman from Main Street, Iowa, regarding Main Street Hampton on the agenda. So, hello, Tom.
Hello, and thank you for allowing me a few minutes to visit with you, Mr. Mayor and Council. Tom Guzman with the Iowa Economic Development Authority. I've had the pleasure of coming and visiting and working with the community of Hampton since 1990, so for well over 2 decades now. I've had the opportunity, we were reminiscing a bit today as we were doing a walking tour around the district. Do you remember when this was here? Do you remember when that was there? Do you remember the horse? It was just kind of a fun opportunity to do that. Just like Iowa, Hampton's had a lot of transitions over the years. One of them was quite significant last 18 months or so, when the decision had to be made by the community of Hampton, by the city, by the chamber, whether or not you were going to continue to work with through the Main Street program with the state. And I have to share with you that, to your credit, as a community, as city leaders, as a chamber of commerce, you had some tough decisions to make, and you made them. And you've decided to move on, to move forward. And from what we can see in our visit here, our short visit, it's nice to see the transition actually happen and to some degree very effortless between what was and what is happening today. City Council, the city staff have continued to be very supportive. We certainly appreciate that coming from the state side. That said, there's still a lot to do relative to your district, relative to your community. But I'd like to just spend a moment to talk a little bit about what has happened. 1991, a few years after the farm crisis, was when Hampton joined the state Main Street program. There's been a lot of transition since then. If you look at the district, it's really different than it was then. And in fact, based on the reporting that you've shared with the state of Iowa, today there's about 55 or so more businesses in the district than there were 21 years ago. That's pretty cool, pretty positive. Are you at full health? No. But it's pretty cool to see that diversified business base here. Mr. and Mrs. resident, Mr. and Mrs. building owner in Hampton have invested just over $6 million into downtown buildings in that time period. There's a lot more to do, sure, but we need to be grateful and celebrate the dollars that have been put in. Just as importantly, since 1991, almost 50,000 volunteer hours through your Main Street organization, through your chamber Main Street organization, have been invested 1 hour at a time, working through a volunteer initiative to make positive change occur in your downtown district, your Main Street district. According to the independent sector, every volunteer hour is worth about $17.18 per hour. So if you do the math, it's pretty amazing how quickly that adds up to hundreds of thousands of dollars of investment made by volunteer leaders in the community. I'd encourage you as the City Council to continue to support the initiative and the efforts. I have full confidence you will, because you've had a great track record. I love the way you support through TIF. I love the way you support through General Fund to make certain that downtown is not ignored, it's not forgotten. And my hat's off to you for that. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom. Okay. Anything else under public comment?
Yeah.
Oh, we'll take Barry first. I'm sorry.
Sorry. No, that's fine.
Another hand going, sorry.
Good evening. Barry Lamos, 250 Blair Street Southeast. I'm here to urge the council to change the ordinance as to butchering animals, livestock, outside in their yard. Chief Schaefer's got pictures. I sent some council members pictures. I shouldn't have to walk out my door and see that, and then walk out my door the next day in the morning and see it. I shouldn't have to see a kid walking around with a hatchet chopping heads off chickens. My neighbor shouldn't have to walk out his door and see feathers and guts laying in his yard, or not next to his yard. You can't raise livestock in town, so why is it you can butcher them in town? I can see if a guy's going to be deer hunting. He'll hang it up in his garage and do it in there. But let's clean Hampton up some more, and that's just another way to clean Hampton up. When I come into town from the east, I see weeds this high next to the curb. When I come into town by the fairgrounds, I see weeds this high next to the curb. It doesn't look too good. I've driven around town. I've seen houses that people haven't lived in since I've been here. April will be 18 years. The electric service isn't hooked up. There's a hole in the roof. It's vacant. Why aren't things like that cleaned up? I realize there's a money issue, but I can drive around town. I've seen piles of tires that have been behind a garage for 3 years. A car sitting unlicensed for a year. There's parts of Hampton are great, but there's other parts that just need cleaned up. That's all my comment for tonight. I'd just like to ask the council members to consider changing the ordinance about butchering animals in the city limits. Thank you.
Thank you, Barry.
Hi, everyone. My name is Jessie Jurgens, and I'm a representative, I'm here to represent Syngenta and Oliver Media. I actually work for Gildan and wanted to propose an idea of helping to do some advertising in the local community on behalf of Syngenta, and they are looking to put some signage up around the local community and advertise for their products. And I wanted to go ahead and I'll hand these over to you guys. You can take a look at the signage they're looking at. But, we met, my coworker Rachel and I met with Brooke and Ron and Doug. Yes, thank you. We met with them earlier today, and we discussed this a little bit and thought it was best to present it to you, as many of the signs that they have proposed are owned by 50% are owned by the city. They're looking to just get really involved into the community here and promote their product and try to target some of the farmers. One question that came up today was, what's the benefits for the local community? We spoke with Syngenta, and they came back and said there is monetary compensation along with like the permitting and any kind of rental space that we would need with that type of stuff. But then we also proposed the idea of helping out with some local events, whether it's festivals and fairs, and they said that if the timing coincides with the advertising that they're looking to do, they would be more than happy to be a sponsor or participate with some local community events, whether that's I think they mentioned some high school football games, if there's some tie in there, or taking some stuff back to the local FFA and some agricultural businesses here as well. To coincide with this, they're also looking to do a regional PR campaign, which is throughout the Midwest, that will be in a lot of farm communities. So they're looking at Iowa, Ohio, Illinois, and Kansas, and some of the other regional markets that do have a lot of farm communities. But they'll put out an effort to get not only Syngenta but Hampton on the map, if you will, and get the name out there, whether, to promote some of the events you guys have going on here, or if it's, trying to get people to move here or build businesses here. They're willing to work with you on that and help build the PR campaign. So if you can see the signage, most of it is 50% city council, but then there are other local city or not city councils, but city departments that we would need to work with, the engineer, and then there's also private businesses that we would need to work with in order to put signage up in storefront windows, or if we wanted to do, I mentioned a local maze, they want to tie that in somehow, and that would be a good fit if it's a community festival or fair. They wanted to set up a maze in that particular area, which is privately owned as I understand it. So they're looking at ways to help the community, but also be able to advertise for their particular product here in the local area. So I'm not totally familiar with city council meetings, but if you have any questions, please let me know. Otherwise, that's our proposal, and I'll provide you with contact information.
How many other towns are you doing this with?
We're doing with 3 other towns, Spencer, Atlantic, and Oskaloosa. And you're the first one we visited, so we don't have any feedback yet.
Do you have any examples of the signs that you were
I
proposing?
do, yes. And I'm so sorry the hotel printer ran out of ink. And I'm glad because you get to see the color copies.
Okay.
So,
I'd like to ask a question of Brooke.
Yeah, go ahead.
Brooke, as a Chamber Main Street Director, what would be your take on this? I know you've met with these fine ladies, but what's your perspective?
It happened 2 weeks ago. Jeff Syngenta has been a chamber member for quite a while. He sent me an email saying that 7 of the employees who are in management position at Syngenta call Hampton their home. And they nominated Hampton to be this place, which is kind of an honor. I didn't know what it was going to be. Doug, I think, had the first email of that and sent it to me yesterday and said they were coming today. And it was so wonderful that Tom Guzman from Main Street, Iowa was here, so we could say, has this ever happened before in Iowa and that stuff? And I don't want to put words into Tom's mouth, but no, it hasn't. And so what do you think? Should we do this? And I did a straw poll. We had a chamber board meeting today at 1. I brought it up to them. And so what are the thoughts? The design committee is meeting right now. They have the same designs. And I think it'll come to our design committee to kind of say, is this okay? Is this the right thing to do? But it did allow me to do 2 things. One is it allowed me to straw poll very quickly a couple other agribusiness people on our chamber and that stuff. Their thoughts were, number 1, don't do it for free. Make sure it's charged. So that way we have that. Also, let the design committee or let us, let a subcommittee like the chamber main.
And there isn't a mess, maybe I could ask them to wait until after church was over in order to be tearing it down.
Do you know, is that the time that they were scheduled to show up to tear down, or that's their self-given deadline?
I would be guessing that I'm guessing that's the time that they will be starting tearing it down.
But I think Val's issue was not necessarily the cleanup, maybe not necessarily just the tearing out of things. So we were thinking when you make your
Well, and the cleanup. I mean, I just think 11 o'clock in the morning, it's an unpredictable situation, and hopefully nothing's going to get out of hand. But, to be honest, we're talking about, alcohol being involved in a different setting in downtown. I just feel that 11 o'clock in the morning is a little late to get started tearing that down. I mean, like I said, it's unpredictable. There could be a huge mess. There might not be a mess at all. But I just think that that's something that should be addressed earlier than that time in the morning. That's my only problem.
Or perhaps they just keep cleaning it up as they go. I mean,
That's
just
the
keep
kind
it
of stuff I'd
picked
like to
up.
know.
I don't think that'd be that difficult. Have a couple people working and everyone's responsible.
It's not that large an area, it's going to be.
One of the things you can do, is there any more questions for Chief? Okay. One of the things I think you could do in your motion, if it sounds like since you guys generally don't have a problem with it, so one of the things you can do, I would suggest in your motion is if you have conditions, you can put those conditions in your motion and the Chief can pass them along. I know there's questions without answers, but we're not meeting again before this event, so they're going to need a decision one way or another. So if there are conditions, I would say just include them in your motion, and then we can have Chief pass them along, and then at that point they can take it or leave it, I guess.
Go ahead. As a side note to all of this too, Mayor, that I guess I would feel more comfortable in the future if people want to see these kinds of things go by or come to be, we should meet or any make it mandatory that they have to have a representative here that at least can answer questions. I don't think that's too much to ask.
I would agree with that. Does somebody want to make a motion? We can move forward.
I make a motion that we approve this application, subject to a tear down being complete by 9 o'clock in the morning on Sunday, and subject to their understanding that if at any time the festivities are getting out of hand based on the judgment of our police force, it can be shut down at any time.
Okay. Do I have a second for that motion?
Second.
So I have a motion by Dick and a second by Steve to approve, subject to tear down by 9 a.m. Sunday morning, understanding that PD has the ability to shut down if the event gets out of hand. Is there any further discussion? If there's no further discussion, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Next on the agenda is pay estimate number 4, the final Progress Park Improvements Project. Ron?
Thank you, Mayor. This is on your light purple pages in your packet. Construction pay estimate number 4, the final Progress Park improvements. On the left side of the column is the base contract price, $152,163.75, and with change orders, 2 change orders, total contract price $150,954.40. The right side, construction completed to date, $146,743.26. Less previous payments, $124,457.14. 5% retainage, $7,337.16. And the amount due this estimate, $14,948.96. And with the accompanying documents from Mindy from CGA, she's explained that there are some things left to be completed, some punch list items. For the most part, construction has been completed, but there are some minor things that need to be done. And we do have the retainage left as well. Any questions?
Who does the final check to make sure all these last punch items get done? Is Doug the one that does that?
The engineer.
The engineer has to approve it?
The engineer and Doug will accompany, and as well as the contractor. They'll do a walkthrough and just make sure that we're all on the same page, that everything's been completed as specified.
Ron, is there any kind of a warranty on, I've got a concern about the, on item number 12, I guess it would be 12 or 13, fixed hole created in the asphalt from the equipment being spilled in the skate park. Well, that's, the asphalt's petroleum based, I'm assuming so is the oil leak. Sometimes it takes a while for that to go down and further deteriorate. What happens if we find a divot or a hole in there next year? Are they responsible for repairing that? Could we make them?
Well, I think that we would have to identify problems right now, which is what we're trying to do. And in this area, they cut out the area. And from what we've witnessed, it happens pretty quickly. Whether it's hydraulic fluid or whatever dripping starts eating right away.
Right.
And so they cut it out and patch it. But
so they did more than just a little superficial patch to pour out the material?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's good. Thank you.
Any other questions? Take a motion then. The full amount,
Yes.
$14,948.96. Do I have a second?
Second.
Got a motion by Diane and a second by Val to approve in the amount of $14,948.96. Any further discussion? Okay, hearing none, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Next is to approve the claims as recommended by the Finance Committee. It's in the amount of $107,542.13. Have a motion?
So moved.
Motion Motion by Dick, do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Diane. Any discussion? All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Next on the agenda is consideration and approval of adoption of resolutions. First is Resolution 2012-32, resolution repealing Resolution 2002.04 and adopting the following rules of procedure governing the organization, meetings, and conduct of business of the Hampton City Council. As you'll recall, we took a vote on this a few weeks back. We did not have a full council at the time. The vote was 3-2. Now that we have a full council, I had Ron put it back on the agenda just to see where we fall. So, Ron, if you want to go over the agenda or the
Sure.
resolution again.
The majority of this is basically outlining rules and procedures for regular council meetings as well as committee or workshop meetings. This is proposing to change to workshops. Spells out City Council regular session meetings shall be called to order at 6 p.m. on the second and fourth Thursdays of each month unless otherwise stated within the consent agenda. Presiding officer is the mayor. In the absence of the mayor pro tem shall preside at the City Council regular session meetings. Talks about quorum under item 3. Majority of the council shall constitute a quorum to transact ordinary business. Number 4. Called meetings. A special meeting may be called by the mayor or upon the request of the majority of the council members. The city manager shall sign the notice of the meeting, provide notice and agenda to the news media, post notice and agenda not less than 24 hours prior to the meeting, according to open meetings laws. 5, order of business. Talks about the council shall proceed to the business before them. The order as follows: call to order, approval of the printed or amended agenda, council workshop reports. The chair would read the minutes and invite additional comments on the proceedings of the previous council workshop meeting. Council shall vote on acceptance of the printed or amended workshop meeting minutes. Public comment, public hearings or petitions received, old business, new business, approval of claims, consent agenda, staff reports. One thing that's been added to staff reports would be a report from the fire chief, as well as police chief, public works director, city manager. And then council reports and mayor's report. Number 6, closed sessions, talks about the council may hold a closed session only by affirmative vote of 2/3 of the members of the body present at the meeting. 7, meetings shall be open to the public. All meetings, workshops, other meetings where a quorum of the council is present shall be open to the public in compliance with Iowa Code. 8, the agenda. The city manager shall prepare a written agenda for each regular session, workshop, and or special session in the order established in section 5 of this resolution. Anyone wishing to have an item placed on the agenda must do so no later than 72 hours prior to a regular session meeting, and not later than 12 noon on the Friday before any meeting scheduled for a Monday. The agenda shall be provided to the mayor, council members, public works director, police chief, fire chief, and post and to any media that has requested the agenda. Robert's Rules of Orders shall be followed. Motions, no motion on a resolution shall be put to a vote until it has been seconded. You can withdraw motions. 12 talks about voting by ayes or nays. 13, readings and amendments of ordinances. All proposed ordinances shall have separate consideration on 3 different days unless there's a motion to dispense the second or third consideration, and a 3/4 majority of the council shall so approve. Motion to reconsider. A motion may be reconsidered at any time during the same meeting or at the first meeting held thereafter. Workshop meetings. The council shall meet each Monday at 6 p.m. immediately prior to the next scheduled Thursday regular council session, unless otherwise scheduled in the consent agenda of the last council session. The applicable rules and procedures and decorum shall apply as provided herein with the mayor or mayor pro tem serving as the chair. The purpose of the workshop includes to invite public comment and feedback, hear staff updates, provide staff with directions, and discuss upcoming issues prior to the regular council meeting. The chair may seek a non-binding consensus on items such as, but not limited to, resolutions, ordinances, or appointments, but any vote binding a council member concerning motions, resolutions, or ordinances shall occur only at a regular or special council meeting. The mayor may appoint a committee of 3 council members to address special considerations as they arise in the areas of financial or personnel matters. Council members, although encouraged to attend, if absent, may not be compelled to attend. This shows that it would have an effective date of this resolution being January 1st, 2013.
Any questions? Okay. Take a motion then at this time. Approve or deny?
I'd make a motion to approve resolution 2012-32.
Motion by Dick, do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Diane. Any further discussion?
Yeah, I got a question. Basically, what this looks to me after we've read all this, is it looks like it's a 10 council meeting before we have the council meeting. We're basically doing the same thing. And it's a little bit overdone, don't you think?
Well, I don't do it that way. I do it as a way to have discussion.
We have discussion now, okay, in all of our committee meetings.
This is the way to include the full council.
I think we can do that because the full council can attend any committee meeting at any time. We list right away on there, if you're interested in attending the meeting, show up.
And if this fails, that's the way it will continue.
I just think we're going a long way around the barn for the same issue.
Thank you.
And one of the things, Steve, that maybe you weren't thinking of there was that whether it be committee meeting or workshop, it's the way that we involve the community, and the community then can, at workshops, as they now at committee meetings are very, very much involved, they can have some input, as can those council members who choose to attend workshops get the full input of what happened, whether it be from other council members or from the public. So I think it could be a real benefit to us.
Isn't that going on now with the committee meetings?
With the committee meetings right now,
Is it going on that way now?
we've had some definite. I went to the Public Assets Committee meeting. I was very pleased. The last one we had. I was very pleased with the way that was handled because it was a 29-minute meeting, and there were 5 council members there, and as is allowed now, which is a good thing, the 2 council members who were not on the committee spoke freely, and as did several in the public. If those comments hadn't been there, it would have been about a 14-minute meeting. So I think the comment has been made that, boy, we could get long and drawn out. I don't think that's really going to happen. I think those special occasions like the budget meetings that we all agree really take a lot of time. Those kind of things. There are also guidelines drawn up in here so that if we have special situations, that if they're personnel things or budget issues that need to be talked about, that the mayor has the authority to go ahead and appoint a smaller number of council members to deal with that and gather information. I think it's a great way to streamline what we're doing and make it more accessible to the public.
I don't know how we can streamline it, make it more accessible than we're making it now. And we already have a 3-person committee to talk about your budgetary issues. It's called Finance and Personnel Committee. I believe you're the chair. And I myself being on that committee for many years, we have always taken comment from the citizens. As opposed to a 14-minute versus 29-minute meeting, I felt all the issues were discussed. Did you feel that way?
I was very happy with the way that meeting went, absolutely. And as many other committee meetings that we've been having, I think it's another step that we can take. If it doesn't work, as Councilman Davies has said in the past, if for some reason we don't like it, we don't have to stay with it. But there are many councils around the state that do it that very way.
I don't think anymore. Go ahead.
It will also reduce the number of meetings that our staff is required to go to, because we'll reduce from 5 to 4 meetings a month.
Has anyone on staff complained about the current setup?
The staff is not going to complain about going to fewer meetings, that's for sure.
For being new here, I'm just going to ask a couple questions. To me, it looks like, we're talking about the same thing. but we're just talking about changing the name. I see both sides of this. My question is, and I hope this doesn't sound ignorant, but couldn't we just have committee meetings on Mondays at 6 o'clock? And, if you're interested, the public should come, or the council people. For me right now, I plan on attending all of them, because I don't know enough. But I do like the idea that, some of these things will be addressed the Monday before we go to council meeting, that way it's fresh in our minds and we can rediscuss it. But I'm just going to be blunt. To me, the argument is changing the name from a workshop to a committee meeting. This is an open forum. If I'm correct, and anybody can correct me if I'm wrong, this is an open forum. I can come to any of these I want. I can say what I want. The public can come. They can voice their opinions. I mean, if we're going to get in a little bit of a heated discussion over what we call it, why can't we just change it to Mondays at 6 and kind of leave it at that? And like I said, there's probably a lot of things I'm not getting out of this, but I'm just trying to understand all of it.
See, and this is the thing, as I understand it, and correct me if I'm doing it, I'm bringing it up wrong. What we're gonna do is we're gonna sit down on Monday night at 6 o'clock, okay? We'll have a regular agenda, just like we would normally have for a full council meeting, okay? And we're gonna discuss any number of issues that would be put on the next agenda for the regular council meeting.
For all committees that
Right.
we have right now,
Right.
okay.
Instead of having each of these committees sit down and discuss their issues, okay, or discuss city issues. And my thinking is that you're gonna take and boil down three different committees into one meeting. And I can see, a lot of issues, in the years that I've been on here, I can see a fairly lengthy agenda. And my concern is something is gonna get overlooked.
Like I said, I'm trying to absorb all this.
There are a lot of times, there's some issues that we've worked on for 2 or 3 meetings at a crack before we brought it forward. Because we wanted to make sure we got it right. And same thing with the budget. You gotta chisel away at that sucker for about 4 months before you really feel comfortable with what you're doing.
About 4 weeks.
Weeks?
Well, we got about 12 hours yet.
Well, yeah, but that's what I'm saying, if you stretch that out, right. Go ahead.
Craig, you had a question?
Yeah, I guess, just a comment directed towards Val. I guess my personal opinion is, I've been very vocal against this in the past. I don't think that the system is broke, so I don't think that it warrants fixing, per se. We do have that luxury now of attending council meetings on your own. Should you choose to do that, you're free to speak just as well as any citizen is. The fact of the matter at hand is, though, the way that this is worded tonight, we don't have the luxury of voting and saying that, well, let's just leave the committees the way they are and call them good, and we will have them on Monday nights prior to the council meeting. This is based on its own right now as repealing the whole current system as we know it and going to a workshop. So you don't have the luxury of saying, okay, I'll vote for this part and parcel. It's all or none, the way I see it.
And that's why I guess I brought it up, now is when I'm starting to learn more. I don't mean to throw a wrench in, is it something that we could discuss? And to me, if there, I'm sure there's a lot of expertise at this council, and some are probably more interested in other areas than other ones, but, so if you want to attend, you attend. I don't know, I just get the feeling right now it's being hung up on a name. And as far as the time goes, I don't think that should matter to anyone. I mean, we're here for a reason, and whether it takes 5 minutes or 5 hours, it's our job.
Well,
And I'm just saying, and it could go on just as long at a committee meeting, because I could sit out there and keep, flying questions at you, and it could last another 6 hours. You know, like I said, I'm just trying to understand what the real, I guess what the real debate is. I guess I'm just a little confused. I just think, like I said, you know, set time, Mondays, 6 o'clock. I think that's a great idea. Maybe we could look at just, okay, that's, I don't know, I've already said, you know, but I thought it just.
Well, that's kind of where I'm at too, and is, should this fail, I would like to see something like that come forward where we could maybe make a compromise. I'm willing to compromise. I just don't like the point of the entire workshop. I don't think that the system we have now with a committee set up is broken. I think it works fine. But I would be willing to revisit that and have committee meetings the Monday prior or whatever we shall choose. And 6 o'clock is fine. I would like to get a meeting over as quick as anybody else.
Mm-hmm.
But you know what? We're here to do the people's business, and I agree exactly with what you said.
And when I was on the Finance and Personnel Committee, I put in some long hours, back when we didn't have any money, trying to figure out how we're gonna pay the bills, so that's the way I feel.
Got a question here, Colin?
My question is this gonna be better for the media? And if it is, that's great, because more people will be aware of what's going on in town. A lot of people read the paper and they listen to the radio. Some people just do one or the other. But it's nice to know what's coming out of council meetings and committee meetings. That's not a week late, like sometimes in the paper. And another thing I'd like to say is, you're changing the mayor's, new vote process, but is this new committee structure going to reduce the favoritism?
Well, to address the first question on the media, I think that's exactly what this is pointed towards. Is we want to have, the meeting on whether it's committee or workshop, either way. And during when this was brought up through committee, it was actually talked about, should we just separate this out, because the workshop being the contentious part of this resolution, should we just separate that part out? And the committees that it was brought to, I think it was brought through all three. None of them recommended that way. They all recommended as a whole. So yeah, that's exactly
By consensus.
By consensus. It
wasn't
it
unanimous.
wasn't. Yeah, it wasn't. No,
Thank you.
No, yeah, no. So, and as far as favoritism, I guess I'm not clear. I guess what you're asking there. So,
I'd say if you're changing this, is every council member going to have the same voice?
oh yeah. To me, I think this is exactly what that's pointed towards. Is to include every council member, an opportunity for every council member to speak evenly. And with the change in policy on committee meetings to where we allow a quorum, I think that's already being addressed, and that's what Steve and Craig have talked to, and I think that's where there's some cloudiness over what's the real difference. For me, I really don't think on that end there's really going to be much of a difference at all, because I'll continue to conduct committee meetings in that open way where a quorum will be possible. My interest is to put it in writing so that, I don't plan on being mayor forever, so I just want to put it in writing so that, continuing afterwards, because I think that's in the best interest of open public policy. So, but whatever, however you guys decide, like you said, Craig, I think there's room for the two sides to come together, so we can.
Well, there's wonderful aspects to it, because what I like is the fact that now we're gonna have the fire chief here as well with the report. That's something we desperately need. I think that we need to know more about what's going on in the fire department.
We used to have them all here.
Yes, we did.
There's no,
Yeah.
Mayor, if there's any more discussion or not anymore, I would call for the question.
Okay. Okay, question's been called. Move forward with the vote then. Eckhart?
Nay.
Harms?
Nay.
Davies?
Aye.
Lukensmeyer?
Aye.
Raleigh?
Aye.
Augbach?
Aye.
Votes 4-2, the motion carries. Thank you. Next on the agenda is Resolution 2012-39, a resolution accepting and approving the city street finance report for fiscal year 2011 and 12. City Manager Dunn.
Resolution 2012-39 is a resolution accepting and approving the city street finance report for fiscal year 2011-2012. Whereas the City of Hampton, Iowa has prepared a city street finance report detailing revenues and expenditures for the fiscal year July 1st, 2011 to June 30th, 2012, and whereas it has been reviewed by the City Council, now therefore be it resolved by the City of Hampton, Iowa, that the proposed city street finance report for the fiscal year ending June 30th, 2012 is hereby approved and adopted, and the city clerk is hereby authorized and directed to file the adopted report with the Office of Local Systems of the Iowa Department of Transportation. Whereupon Mayor Deese declared Resolution 2012-39 duly passed and approved 25th day of September. Just a brief explanation. This is an annual report that we prepare and file with the state. It's due on September 30th of each year. It's a way for the state to keep track of cities' road use tax funds, how they're spent, and revenues, expenses, and fund balances. On the cover sheet is just basic information. The next summary statement sheet shows column 1 revenues on the left side for road use tax fund, and on the right side is expenses for the road use tax fund. And then column 2 is other street monies. Column 3 is street debts. That would be for any street debt that we would have, special assessment debt, Highway 65, for example. So that page shows all the revenues and expenses related to those. The next page is for miscellaneous revenues, which we include TIF, tax increment financing, because we certify for TIF revenues to pay the Highway 65 principal and interest. The next page, bonds, notes, and loans, shows the existing debts related to streets. It would be the special assessment for Oak Hill project, and then the general obligation, that would be for the Highway 65 project. Principal and interest, details given there. Next sheet is project final cost sheet, which there's no data on there. The next sheet is a road street equipment inventory sheet. They like to keep an inventory of each community's street department equipment. The next sheet is an explanation sheet. The two explanations I have pointed out are adjustments that I've made to the numbers per our audit. And those are basically the state keeps track of what they show for revenues and fund balances, and then we are allowed to make the adjustments per the annual audit that we have. The final back sheet is the monthly payment showing road use tax funds as the state shows them coming to the city. Are there any questions?
If there's no questions, I entertain a motion on Resolution 2012-39.
So moved.
Got a motion by Steve to approve.
Yes.
Do I have a second?
Second?
Motion by Steve and a second by Dick to approve Resolution 2012-39. Is there any further discussion? Okay. Crowley.
Aye.
Wickensmeyer.
Aye.
Eckhart.
Aye.
Auguback.
Aye.
Davies.
Aye.
Arms.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you. Next on the agenda is Resolution 2012-40. This is regarding Police Chief Schaefer, and it's my intent to reappoint the chief, as the chief of police, and I would ask that the council approve Resolution 2012-40 as the salary of police chief for September 29th, 2012 through September 28th, 2015, and approving his employment agreement. Ron, if you want to go through the details on that.
Sure. Resolution 2012-40 is a resolution setting salary of police chief for September 29, 2012 through September 28, 2015, and approving employment agreement. Whereas the City of Hampton desires to employ Robert Schaefer, employee, for his services rendered as Chief of Police, Hampton, Iowa, And whereas in return, the employee agrees to perform duties as police chief as outlined in the employment agreement, job description, and ordinances of the City of Hampton. Now therefore be it resolved by the City Council of Hampton, Iowa, this 25th day of September 2012, that the employment agreement is hereby approved and the salary for the employee shall be set as follows. September 29th, 2012 through September 28th, 2013, year one, would be $54,600 for a base salary. The second year, through September 29, 2013 through September 28, 2014, $55,692. September 29, 2014 through September 28, 2015, third year, base salary $56,805. And I'll just touch on the highlights of the employment agreement. The employee's employment term shall begin September 29, 2012 and continue through September 28, 2015. The city manager and mayor shall evaluate the employee annually. The employer may terminate this contract at any time with or without cause. If the employee is terminated for cause, he shall receive no severance pay. In the event the employer wishes to terminate the contract without cause, it may do so by giving the employee 30 days written notice. In such event, the employee shall be entitled to receive 90 calendar days severance pay from the date of termination of his employment. Employer agrees to pay the employee for his services rendered annual base salary, of which I just mentioned. Year one, $54,600. Year two, $55,692. Year three, $56,805. Employee is entitled to longevity pay as provided by the employer's policy. The employee shall be entitled to those benefits set out in the City of Hampton Employee Handbook. And the employee shall also be entitled to a cell phone reimbursement of $40 per month. The employee agrees to abide by the City of Hampton Employee Handbook and the Hampton Police Department Employee Handbook. Those are the highlights of the employment agreement. And happy to answer any questions you might have.
Any questions? Take a motion then on 2012-40.
Move to approve.
Motion by Steve to approve. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Craig. Any further discussion? Okay, hearing none, we'll go forward with the vote. Davies?
Aye.
Eckhart?
Aye.
Lukenmeyer?
Aye.
Arns?
Aye.
Auerbach?
Aye.
Crowley?
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you. Next on the agenda is the consent agenda. That includes to approve the previous minutes as drafted from the Tuesday, September 11, 2012 regular session meeting. Schedule the next regular session for Tuesday, October 9, 2012 at 5:30 p.m. in City Council chambers. And the approval of alcohol licensing renewals for Kerner Local Pharmacies Incorporated, 104 First Street Northwest, and Liquor Barn, 721 Central Avenue West, both of Hampton, Iowa. Do I have a motion on the consent agenda?
Move to approve.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion by Steve and a second by Diane to approve the consent agenda. Any discussion? Okay, hearing none. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Staff reports. Police Chief Bob Schaefer.
Thank you, Mayor, City Council, City Manager. Like to thank you for hiring me for another 3 years. It's been good working with the people that I've been working with, and also for the people of Hampton. And I just want to let everybody know that I do appreciate that. As you know, we're in full swing for homecoming. If you couldn't tell before last night with the noise and whatever, I'm sure that you saw the toilet paper on the trees. We did have some incidences of vandalism along with that. I did talk with the superintendent and the principal of the high school, and also the assistant principal at the middle school today in regards to that. What's hard is because a large number of kids is basically being able to pinpoint the ones that are setting off fireworks and things like that. Again, it's a safety issue more than anything else. I mean, I realize that people want to have fun and have a good time, but when you have fireworks going off, it becomes a safety issue. So I hope that, the parents and the kids take that into account, and at least maybe the parents talk to the kids about that, of what kind of activities that they are doing while they're out there, basically having fun decorating. And I have been told by the school that if there's any areas that definitely need cleaning or whatever, to let them know that they will have groups of kids out cleaning up the toilet paper. So, along with that, the nuisance, we have been continuing on that. I think from September 1st to the 24th, we had one citation that was issued. We had 9 nuisance letters that were served, of which we have 3 that are closed, 6 that are open. There was 14 nuisance CRs, and again, we talk about that. It's not necessarily a letter that went out, but it might have been, a vehicle sitting on the street for an extended period of time or whatever. That might have gone under nuisances. And we have, basically that shows that we have 5 open. There is one property that we've been dealing with that the subject has been gone and unable to contact, and we did get in contact with them as far as the vehicle that's been parked in the yard for an extended period. I also, would encourage people, if they do see tires and or vehicles have been sitting for a year, to let us know in case we somehow or other miss it, because I would be more than happy to take care of that situation. So, do I have any questions from the council?
I have a question, Bob.
Yes.
You said something about areas that need cleaning up. We were on a walking tour today with the Main Street people, and someone had tipped over the porta potty behind the band shell, and it's back up, but it's really disgusting over there.
Right.
So maybe the school would like to send some people over there to actually clean inside and out. There, it is. It's really disgusting.
I believe that somebody might have contacted them today. I know that we discussed that in a meeting this morning in the city manager's office.
It'd be nice if they would clean it up right away instead of maybe wait till the end of the week. It needs cleaning up now.
Right.
So,
And I agree with Jim. I had a daughter involved in homecoming decorating last night, and my concern is every year it's going to get more and more out of hand.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, yeah, they need to clean up the toilet paper, but if we do get some names, then maybe they need to do a little bit of extra. An example needs to be set, in my opinion, so that next year it doesn't get worse. Because they're taking the fun out of it. It's supposed to be. I think it's like I told my daughter. It's a neat thing that we have a small town that allows us to do these kind of activities, and then they go clean it up. But when they start vandalizing, and I know it's a small group, we need to penalize those people so that maybe next year the next group of kids will think twice before they do something stupid like that.
Right. And I agree, but it takes some of those people that know the names of the ones that did it to come forward, not necessarily to me, maybe to school personnel, and let them know, because I was out there, and I mean, when you have 50 kids, they were shooting off bottle rockets and whatever else over in the senior center, or in the senior housing. And I was on my bike and took off after them, and by the time I caught up to them, there was only about one that was still slow enough that I ended up catching with a bike, and the rest of them had already taken off. I mean, I have no clue who it was that, had done it. Anyway.
And I'm sure the school personnel has thought of this, but by looking at Facebook and Twitter,
Yes.
you can, there's pictures and there's names. That's a good way to identify people.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Bob. Public Works Director Doug Tar.
We'll just continue with the homecoming issue. I had a conversation with Church Christensen today. I requested that the porta potty be turned back up and cleaned by tomorrow. That was my request, whether or not that happens. So in a contingency and a backup, the porta potty still needs to be recharged with chemical. And I'd already had Gary call on that today and call Green Canopy, I believe, because they're going to still have to come and service it. So I'm anticipating it get cleaned up tomorrow
The
regardless. of who
sidewalk all
does it.
around it too needs to be hosed down and probably disinfected too. I mean, a lot of that's cleaned up, but
Sure.
you still got all some of the stuff and flies and the odors pretty bad.
We'll get to it tomorrow. Other than that, any questions? Okay.
Next up, City Manager Rhonda.
Congratulations, Chief Schaefer, on your contract renewal. At the last council meeting, I mentioned that we were going down to Des Moines to go to the Vision Iowa Board to seek a time extension on the CAT grant agreement. October 31st, 2012 was our deadline to have everything completed and all payment requests in Vision Iowa with some delays and some anticipated delays in working with on the conservation side with the DOT regarding final approvals and audits of the bridge portion. We had some concerns about meeting that October 31st deadline. So we went down, Jason Gooder, myself, and Jay Waddingham, and met with the board in person and requested a 6-month extension, and we received a 9-month extension. They were receptive to the idea of an extension, and the reason they gave a 9-month extension was that in their past experience in dealings with things that we're dealing with, it's best to be on the safe side. They don't like having communities come back and ask for a second extension, so they're just giving us a little longer time frame right up front, so we appreciate that. And the county is confident that we'll be able to have things wrapped up and completed within that 9 months. So, are there any questions? Thank you.
Well, council report, Steve Arms.
Thanks, John. Firstly, I'd like to pass my condolences to Karen Schmidt, the loss of her husband, Dan. Anybody that's lived in the city of Hampton, Iowa, doesn't have to look back or think very far at all the things that the Schmidt family has done for Hampton, even in public and in private and in their business. So it's a pretty serious loss. That's all I have.
Thank you, Steve. Jim Davies.
I attended the ribbon cutting this weekend for the trail. That was really nice, and a lot of nice things said about Roger Dawn, who had done a lot to help that happen. Met with Main Street personnel this afternoon, Ron and I, and I think had a good meeting there too. And hopefully the chamber, I think, will be doing well with this evaluation. Tennis related, Sunday night some of us are playing at 6:30 on Sundays, and so if anyone wants to come down and hit the ball around, I have some extra rackets, so I'd like to see you down there, Greg Donnelly. Okay. And last thing is the electronics collection day is October 11th. I think we had something that on the hazardous waste is on October 4th, but there is an electronics collection, just to mention that, on the 11th. So if you have some old computers and so forth sitting around, you can take advantage of that. Thank you.
Where to, Jim? Where's the collection? The
It's at,
electronics?
I think, the fairgrounds, Franklin County Fairgrounds from the conservation. 3:30 to 7 on the 11th.
Okay. Greg Eckhart.
I'd like to share my condolences with Karen Schmidt and her family at this time too. Let everybody know that they are in our thoughts and prayers, and I too appreciate what she and Dan have done for the community. I'd like to congratulate Chief Schaefer on your contract renewal. I think you've done a fine job. Anything that we've asked, I think that you've stepped up and taken care of it for us. Your word is good and has been and continues to be, I'm sure. I did receive an email, like the rest of you probably did too, from a person concerned about animal butchering in the city limits. I think that we do need to take a look at this, but I do want to be very careful in how we proceed, because I don't want to punish those that are abiding by this. I think that maybe we might want to look if there's a way that we could give the police department some authority or direction to take care of this and make it stop. I don't know if that's possible or not, but it's something for committee to decide. That's all I have, Mayor.
Great. Val Hogback.
Again, congratulations to Bob Schaefer. And that's it.
Okay. Thank you. Dick Williams.
just will start there, because Bob, I think you've been doing a great job, and it's nice to have you as the head of our police department. Thank you to Barry Lamos for coming and sharing with us tonight. I would echo the feelings that Craig just expressed. We do have concerns about those that do that legitimately, hunt and handle their whatever game they bag, but they do it in a reasonable way inside. And some of these events are not happening in the right way. So I don't know what we'll do, but we do need to talk about it. Thank you for your other comments, Barry. As far as the Rolling Trail project, I went also, and there were probably 30 or 40 people there, and I guess the thing that really excites me about that is the way that community worked together. Not just Hampton, it was all of Franklin County, many entities. It wouldn't have happened if we hadn't joined together. There wouldn't have been a bridge for the bike trail going over Squaw Creek. We wouldn't have had the funds available to us to complete the Progress Park initiative if we had not banded together with the county to work. And there were a lot of comments made as far as the people that were instrumental in making that happen. But City Council was mentioned several times during that process because we were a part of it. So working together makes things happen. That's it.
Thank you. Diane Brawley?
Barry beat me to the punch on the last one I wanted to use was, there's a lot of lawns out there, and I know it's been a challenging year to mow lawn, but there's still one more time here to knock your weeds off, because a lot of them are looking pretty crappy. Secondly, congratulations to the chief.
Okay. And for what I have, I want to echo the condolences already mentioned to the Schmidt family and the loss of Dan. Didn't know Dan personally all that well, but I do know he's a popular member of the community, and the contributions that he and Karen have made to this community are certainly felt, and I want to extend those condolences as well, and also to the family of Taylor Carr. I worked with Taylor, and I have the uneasy pleasure of going to his visitation and funeral this week. So it's always a sad situation there. I would just encourage any youngster who's having trouble dealing with any kind of issue, talk to somebody. In talking with folks, Taylor seemed like a happy individual. But anyway, condolences to him and his family. Attended the Landfill North Iowa board meeting here a couple weeks ago. I've mentioned before that they're seeking to redo the 2080 agreement with all of the cities and all of the entities. That work is continuing. It looks like it's probably going to be next year sometime before that gets brought up. The board only meets every other month and things like that. It doesn't look like there's any real major changes coming. So they just want to update it. It hasn't been updated since it came into being about 30-some years ago, my understanding. So. And then the last thing I have is we'll go ahead and set the date for Halloween trick-or-treating for October 31st, 5 to 7 p.m. I was advised this week that's one of the sole-handed powers that I have. So, what's that? Don't abuse it. Okay. Well, if there's nothing else on that, thanks, Jim. Take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Motion by Jim,